Oh, what are you doing here? Is it time for Infobyte? Or playful. Oh, have I got some info for you to bite on? Yes. Incredible week for us at Player versus Player. Me and Mr. Cosmic Bacon have been both vaccinated, so it's been dreadful, but it's okay. We're still here to give you the delicious info in easy to consume bites. We got a lot of PlayStation stuff, but sure, why don't we get on into it? But before we do, in case you may have missed last week's episode, which you may have, was really good. I would say you go back and look at it right after this video. You can check it out. It's in the card. It's in the card right there, I believe. So why don't you check that out? But anyway, let's get into it, guys. Oh. Well, time to get into our first story for the week, guys. Sony could be facing a lawsuit over having a monopoly on the PlayStation Store. Who would have thought it? It looks like they're facing a lawsuit. Basically, the claims are stating that the PlayStation service, be it on PSN, wherever you get it from the actual store itself, on console, or on the PC via your web browser, is running a current monopoly. This is based on the belief that Sony has barred the sales of game keys from the likes of third-party retailers, specifically affecting the likes of Amazon as well as GameStop from reselling or selling codes for digital downloads. Now, this is meaning that this store itself is the only means in which you can buy or purchase, essentially, the games digitally in any form or fashion. And this has sparked a bit of a controversy because this is now meaning that Sony themselves are the only distributor they're allowing to sell the actual software going through that actual network. Now, with that being said, this also parts of this lawsuit that claim that Sony are running a markup of up to, and get this when it comes to percentages, 75 to 175% surcharge on the digital purchases compared to physical copies alone. If you ask me, this doesn't actually surprise me at all when it comes to sort of the markup when it comes to the Sony store. I myself for years have been really annoyed at the actual exorbitant costs you see on the PlayStation Store itself. And I can never really understand why a game on the PlayStation Store for a digital copy would cost sometimes 60-65 pounds. This is pounds here because we spent the pound here, or compared to the likes of the actual physical copies that go from anywhere from 45 to 50 to 55 pounds. So there is definitely a massive markup on those actual sales, and this is something that's been a bit of a hard pill to swallow for me as well, because I can't really factor in or understand how they're managing to make you pay an extra premium here when they don't fit things to pay for, such as packaging costs, logistics, delivery costs, store costs, like shelf space costs, like all of the costs that come into play when it comes to the physical entity. And bear in mind as well that it's not like the digital costs are going to be much more, because they already own and maintain the digital architecture. I doubt it's got that much of an overcharge to host these game files compared to the other costs that I've just mentioned. Now, this is all coming off the back of essentially the lawsuit that's happening right now between Epic and Apple in relation to the monopolization of the Apple Store on Apple products, after Fortnite got taken off the Apple Store when Epic were trying to do a weird workaround to not have to pay the Apple surcharge on Epic purchases. To me, this all comes into play where I wonder how this is all going to go. I feel like the Apple versus Epic Store is going to be a bigger factor in this lawsuit than many people are really talking about. But I can see why Sony kind of don't want this to happen either, because if we do start seeing game keys being sold by retailers like GameStop, like your Amazons, it also opens it up to the gray markets online. if you're a PC player, I'm pretty sure you know when it comes to games, there's a big, massive gray market when it comes to CD keys. And I'm sure Sony is looking to avoid that very much because of they don't get to probably charge as much or make as much profit off those gray market keys. On top of that, there is actually a further hassle when it comes to support tickets with gray market keys, because some gray markets are not the most legit, and sometimes keys get revoked after you've made the purchase. So it's interesting to see where this goes, but it's something that we're going to obviously keep our eyes on here, a player versus player, and let you know if there's any updates off the back of it. But of course, it's time for me to ask you the question: are you as annoyed as I am when it comes to these surcharges when it comes to digital games, or do you not mind paying them on the actual PlayStation Store just because you like the convenience? It's almost like a convenience charge. Why don't you let us know in the comment section down below? Oh, and yeah, we're still sticking with Sony, I guess. Yeah, apparently there has been reports that there's a PS5 redesign coming, guys. But just going to give you a heads up, it's not going to change the look of the console. So apparently, it looks like for now, what we can garner from a current report is that the PS5 is up for redesign, but specifically the internal architecture. This relates to redesign of the nanometer size of the AMD CPU chip that goes into the actual console itself, bringing it down to, I believe, a 6 nanometer CPU, which you're all probably thinking to yourselves, like, why? What does this matter? What do we care about? It doesn't do anything. This is important because this is actually in relation to the silicone shortages that have been plaguing a lot of the actual console shippings, as well as the console sales, as well as your ability just to generally get a console at the minute, because the actual silicone has not been there to produce the consoles en masse to meet the demand. Now, this is not uncommon for these consoles to get a redesign every so often. In fact, I believe the PS4 had its redesign after about a year or two, where they managed to redesign the console internals itself to make the actual console more power efficient, as well as improve some of the airflow issues on the original run of these consoles. This is quite important though, because obviously the actual silicone shortages that have plagued ourselves in 2021 and 2020 have obviously affected more than just the PlayStation market. It's also affected the automotive market. It has affected the graphics card market, as well as some of the CPU market on the PC as well, amongst other things. But for gamers specifically, it is the PC parts, and for PlayStation owners, PlayStation itself, because of the AMD CPUs. Now, with this sort of shortening of the nanometer, the hope is that obviously less silicone means more silicone to go around to then produce these parts. It won't be targeted until 2022 though, but that's still sooner than what was originally expected. I remember seeing some reports saying that the shortages could have actually lasted up to 2023 to 2024, but with these shortages being addressed with a hybrid version of the chip that shortens the nanometer down and hopefully still keeps the same amount of performance there, we may see consoles enter gamers' hands a little bit sooner. As we were going to record this video, I can confirm that at least consoles are getting some of our hands, because Cosmic Bacon, our other host of Player vs. Player, finally got his hands on his PS5 now. So that's all good there. We're all happy about that. But obviously, that's not a win for everyone. There's a lot of people out there, I'm sure one or two of you guys watching this video right now, who might be looking for a PS5 and still not being able to get their hands on it. But I need you to let me know. Are you currently still trying to search for a PS5 currently? Have you give up and have you just moved to Xbox or maybe even the PC platform? Or are you holding out and still trying to get your hands on one of these coveted consoles, guys? I want you to let us know down in the comment section down below. Well, guys, that is our info bite for this week. I want to thank you guys for stopping by, watching, dropping some comments down below, but most importantly, Did we miss any articles that you think were important, or some news that you think that we may have missed that was more important than the things we have discussed this week? I need you to let us know in the comments down below. Maybe we'll check it out on the next Infobyte, guys, and do a little catch up. But again, if you have been watching the Infobyte, if you've been joining us, please, I would ask you to consider hitting that follow button. Wait a second, it's not a follow button. My mistake. This is not on Twitch. But if you do want to check us out on Twitch, you can go to twitch.tv/itspvg for the player versus player talk show. Down below is the link. Why don't you give that out? We're live every Friday from 8 o'clock p.m. UK time. But if you have been enjoying this here video, I want you to hit that subscribe button. Hulk smash the like button. I want you to do it. I need you to do those two things. And that way you don't miss out on any of these informational videos, these wonderful informational videos as they go live. Who would have thought it? Christ, guys, I'm not gonna lie. The last few weeks have all been quite fiend. It feels like people just release stuff, like news en masse for one thing at a time, and it's weird. It's weird. But anyway, we're gonna try and vary this up going forward. Anyway, I've taken enough of your time. I'm gonna see you next week, guys. Have a good one.